Hello and welcome to the Tabletop Tactics Podcast, the show where each week we discuss a different tale, topic or tangent and hear from you, our amazing community. I am James Jordan, aka The Bard, and today I am joined by Councillor Beard.
What a heroic introduction, thank you. Fit for a trio of heroes, isn't it?
I see what you did there. How do you find that introduction, Mr. Lawrence Baker? You seem disappointed.
Anti-heroic.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I like it.
The anti-hero of the show.
That's fair. That's more than fair. And you might have noticed from the title of today's episode that we're doing these cheeky little puns because we're very excited, you see. It's safe to say some of you may have already seen little inklings. We've been working on something in the background. We've been in our big witch's pot of ideas. We've been boiling something cool up for you guys. And that is Hero Mode. Now, we did a little Space Marine 2 game using some of the Poorhammer's Horde Mode rules, and we trialed this kind of movie Marines idea, but we've been working on it and refining it and tweaking it behind the scenes. And I believe, Mr. Lawrence Baker, you have something to share with everybody today.
Hero Mode!
Yeah!
Pow!
Bang, bang!
Pow! Pow! You could even insert the actual document.
Yeah, I can.
Digitally. So it's nice, as opposed to some
laminate.
thing different.
It's very nice. It's
Yes.
a nice laminate.
Yes, no, it's a very nice laminate.
It is.
Yes, Rachel did a fantastic
Amazing job.
Yes, Hero Mode is here.
Oh.
So I have been squirreled away in the corner of the open plan office where everyone can see me.
And distract you.
And distract me for, well, about 6 weeks now trying to get this done because I'm always doing many other things. And yesterday it was finished. It was finished and completed. So I think, first of all, we will of course discuss what Hero Mode is.
Yes.
But you have touched on the fact that Poorhammer's Horde Mode was perhaps where we first started looking at this mini game style thing, which basically the Space Marine 2 Battle Report. We used the Horde Mode rules from Poorhammer, which are awesome.
Fantastic.
And I wrote a DLC for it, which probably many of you are aware of by now, called Hero Mode, which plugged into the Horde Mode rules pretty well, but was far from perfect and far from balanced, and depending on what the heroes were, wasn't going to work. Primarily because Horde Mode is written as its own awesome game, but it's the way the secrets work and the way that the misery cards work don't necessarily work with just a handful of heroes.
Yes, that's true. Finite assets.
You need that 1,000 points or 2,000 points against the Horde to be able to actually go out and complete your missions and actions and so forth. So I quickly realized that the sort of game that we wanted to make wasn't going to work for Horde Mode really very well. So it would be better to split it and make its own game.
100%.
Now, let's talk about Horde Mode in general, because the only reason we ended up going on to Horde Mode is because in another podcast way back yonder, they said, I'm interested in making this mini game.
Yes.
Which, you know, was more featured around characters, which was originally inspired by a White Dwarf article back in the day called Movie Marines.
Movie Marines.
Yeah, and this was like 3rd edition, 4th edition, which was an amazing article. I forget who wrote it, but basically what it enabled you to do is take a squad of tactical Marines and play them as if they were in the fluff, like out of Space Marine 2, and you would field this tactical squad. They all had like invulnerable saves against 1,500 points of whoever it was, and it worked really quite well. It was amazing. It made a lot of rounds back in the day in Games Workshop London, but you know, long gone are those days until now.
Well, this feels a bit more like video game Marines.
Yes.
Bringing it into the modern era.
That's right.
And I think it's safe to say, as all being fans of Space Marines, with stuff like Space Marine 2 having come out and stuff like Angels of Death and all those animations, I think we've all been craving a little bit of like, you know, that feeling like a Space Marine and making the heroes feel heroic and something that's different to your standard 40k game.
Right.
And that's kind of, I guess, what this is.
That's what this is. But like again, now this is the time to shout out Poorhammer. That's what they did with Horde Mode. They created like a, you know, COD zombies, Call of Duty Zombies, free for all, where you could bring anything from your collection against the horde, and wrote a brilliant bit of AI for the horde.
Yeah.
And they've made a great cooperative game. Hero mode, I've actually written out of the gate to be a 2-player game where one person is the game master. The game master isn't necessarily against you, think of it more like a dungeon master in D&D. They're not necessarily trying to beat you, but you have to have someone control the horde. But I have written into this rule set, which is available for free. The link's below. You can download it, play at home, let us know how you get on with it. And you've got a battle report coming out this Saturday featuring it as well, with the Gaunt's ghosts making a final
Such a cool way to kick it off. But that's one of the really great things about hero mode, is that in a normal game of 40k, Gaunt's going to be a very small, potentially relatively insignificant part of your army.
Right.
Yes.
Whereas in hero mode, they're the stars of it.
Yeah,
that's right.
And they behave as you would hope they would if you've enjoyed the novels and stuff previously. It's all about them, which is really exciting.
And I thought we're kind of burying the lead and sort of bringing you on a journey with us, but I think we just want this to sort of work for lots of things.
Yes.
I think so. This isn't just for Space Marines.
No, so that's why I've put quite a bit of time into this, and I'm quite proud of how it's turned out. I actually think out of the gate, this basically now works for anyone. And I wrote it so that you didn't have to just be Space Marines, because not everyone wants to be the Space Marines. What if you want to be a bunch of Eldari, a Seer Council with an Autarch making a last stand against the hordes, whatever it may be. You can now be any faction you like. And I suppose at this point, it's probably wise to go over the rules.
Yeah, it's going to be done.
What a good idea.
So what I've done is I've created one page of rules. Now, this is very reminiscent of boarding action. This is a direct plug-in DLC for 10th edition 40k.
Yep.
There aren't things like secrets or misery cards or anything else like that. The only thing in here is one new stratagem, and it's you spend command points on it, and you generate command points just like you do in a normal game of 40k, with one caveat where you can actually generate some more in this rule. So let's kick it off. First of all, how do you build a hero army?
Tell us,
Please
Lawrence.
tell us.
Okay, point one. The hero army has 400 points to spend. Nice and simple. So you get 400 points. You know how to build a list in 40k?
Yes, I do.
You get 400 points.
Well, thank you.
Except...
That's not very many.
Except...
Oh.
You can only spend those points on character units.
Oh, okay.
You understand? Character units.
Just characters.
Just characters.
You can have as many character units as you want,
Yeah.
but you can't repeat the data sheet.
But it's clever because normally they're the heroes within your army.
Right. So you could take special characters here if you wanted to. Some special characters are going to be more expensive. You can do that if you want to. You could take a tank commander if you want to. Has he got the character keyword?
He does indeed.
Then you can take the tank commander. Okay, but you can only take character units.
Crisis Commander?
You could take a crisis commander.
What about Imperial Knights?
You could take an Imperial Knight.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. You could do that. A knight against a horde.
Yeah.
So basically, as long as it fits in 400 points. Nice.
Okay, so 400 points. Now, horde mode is designed for, hero mode rather, is designed for 2 to 5 players. 1 to 4 players should control the characters, where I recommend you split the points evenly, so you get 100 points each then. And 1 player should always be the game master. Now, again, if you do want to just play purely cooperatively, if you only got the 2 of you, and you want the horde to be an AI, then I recommend the Poorhammer rules, which were also linked below, because they're awesome and perfect. It's like, I'm not going to rewrite something which is brilliant, and horde mode is brilliant, so go play that if you want to play larger game. But if you want the more heroic cinematic character game, then hero mode's for you. Right, all players must choose the same faction and share the same army and detachment rules. Okay, so this differs from horde modes, which allows you to, pick multiple different allies come the apocalypse style. I've done this for the sake of balance and for the sake of cinema. Whilst yes, you could have a Space Marine technically allying with like an Autarch in a last stand or something. This will play better and simpler if you go, right, no, we are the last few characters in the Imperial Fist chapter, and that's what we're representing today. The next is that 1 character must be nominated to be your warlord. This becomes important for the mission, which I've written, which we'll go over later. That's the hero army selection. Simple, right?
Okay.
It's not hard. So you don't even need a large collection.
Very simple.
So in theory, you're trying to introduce a buddy into the game, and because most people start with their characters, don't they? I want to paint my characters up. They could just bring their characters along,
very cool.
and you will then be the horde. You will host them as the horde. So let's go over to the horde. The horde gets 2,500 points. Woo!
That's more than 400.
It is. 2,500 points.
A lot. It's a lot in 10th edition.
It's a lot of points, okay? Now, the army must be chosen can be chosen from any number of codexes, okay? Or indexes, but all units in the army must have the shared army faction keyword.
Okay.
So what that means is, yes, you could do chaos. Okay, so the horde can be more split, more representative, but it's still ultimately themed at that point, right? So you could have Khorne demons with world eaters if you wanted to, and share like the Khorne keyword or chaos keyword, etc., etc. You get the idea, right? So it's simple, it's a big horde. The army, however, must include a minimum of 5 battle line units.
Makes sense.
And those battle line units, you can choose what they are, must be taken at maximum size.
Nice.
Okay, so if you were running orcs and you chose orc boys, you'd have to run them in units of 20.
Nice.
So that's 100 orcs if you're taking 5 units of orcs.
Seems like a horde, that.
That's very
Right,
horde-like.
so I'm forcing, in hero mode, the horde really is trying to represent a horde. Now, technically, yes, Space Marines could be a horde. You could take incursors or, whatever, intercessors, whatever battle line unit you want. But at that point, you'd have to take 10 of them each time, So again, it's forcing the idea that there's lots of numbers against a minimal amount of characters.
I guess to ensure that even if you're taking guard or tyranids, you're getting more of little bugs rather than big bugs. Correct. Least. There's a lot of stuff.
Because I wanted to force in hero mode an escalating threat, which is what the mission rule is, which you'll find out later. So aircraft units can't be taken.
Fair enough.
Too complicated, no need for it in this type of mission, okay? The Horde army may not choose any detachment rules or enhancements.
You just get your army rule.
You just get your army rule.
Fair enough.
There's part of me as a designer's note thing where I was considering allowing the Horde warlord to take enhancements. I might change that in a future version, but for now I've kept it simple.
Makes sense.
You don't get an enhancement, you just take the data sheet.
Cool.
Okay. The Horde army must choose the army rules for the faction that has made up the majority of points in the army.
Makes sense.
So that's how I've worked it. You don't get a detachment rule. See, in Horde mode by Poorhammer, you don't get any rules at all. You don't get any army rules. Yep. Okay, they've written their own army rules to try and represent the factions, which again they've done a great job on. But I've just tried to make this even more simple. Now you get your army rules, so if you're Necrons, you can reanimate, but you won't get any detachment rules.
I guess it's to try and have that boarding action ethos of hopefully making this just slot on to 10th edition, and if that ebbs and flows, then it stays consistent.
Right. Yeah. Okay. And then likewise, from the Horde, one character must be nominated to be the Warlord. Again, I might change it down the line that you can take enhancements. We'll see how that plays out. Because there's a very cool mechanic, which I'll come over in a moment, which would make perhaps the enemy, the Horde Warlord, be very cool if he could have like an enhancement or two. Anyway, we then get to the hero army rules. So that's the army selection done.
Because surely 2,500 points against 10th edition characters, Lawrence, they don't stand a chance.
Well, that's why we have hero army rules. So the hero army rules are largely pasted from what I've already written for the DLC for Horde mode.
Which you haven't seen the battle report, go check it out.
So the only other thing that I've changed is additionally change all instances of a character data sheet of whilst leading a unit to models in this unit. So that means that if your character is leading a unit and the unit dies, you don't suddenly lose all of your abilities.
So in this context, they'll just get their abilities.
They'll just always have their abilities to ensure that they are epically heroic.
Which makes sense.
Okay, so first rule is plot armor.
Amazing.
I renamed it from what it was called before because plot armor just works. All saving throws, including invulnerable saving throws, are re-rollable, which is obviously really good out of the gate. You may not re-roll a re-roll with a CP, however, and feel no pains, of course, are not considered a save, so you don't get to re-roll those.
I think we even found when we did the sort of cursory one, that was such a help of making everything feel just a bit more epic and survivable.
Yeah, it's plot armor. It makes sense.
Of course.
Next is chosen heroes. Player infantry character units, note infantry character units that do not already have so gain the lone operative special
Very
rule.
nice.
So that's how a 2,500 point horde can't just blow you off the table turn 1 unless they get within range.
I'm within
right?
punching
Okay,
distance.
but note a tank commander, however, would not have lone operative.
It's also a tank with a rerollable
Fair
12
game.
save.
Yeah, he's fair game at that point, right? You can start to see how this is starting to work.
Makes sense.
Destruction incarnate. This is one of my favorite rules. When player characters allocate damage points to an enemy horde unit, I'm going to paraphrase this here, you effectively allocate the damage 1 point at a time, much like Mortal Wounds or damage from Sigmar. So that basically means if you've got a damage 2 weapon and you shoot it into Termagants who only have 1 wound each, 2 Termagants will die.
It's nice that.
Oh,
Very nice.
Oh.
You can epically carve your way through a horde doing serious damage.
Yes.
Very video game style.
nice.
The final point is trademark weapons, stolen a little bit here from boarding action and then added onto. At the beginning of the game, select 1 ranged and 1 melee weapon equipped by each character model, excluding epic heroes, so that means no special characters.
Makes sense.
They've already got their own things. Enhancements, all weapons that have the mastercrafted special rule. You add 1 to the strength and damage characteristic of those weapons.
Nice.
So that means that if you're like a ranged character who doesn't actually have a cool weapon in combat, you can not only improve your ranged weapon, but you can actually improve your combat blades to at least be damaged to and have a better strength.
It's a nice way of making like...
So you get a Rambo blade, basically, if you're a guardsman.
That's cool. It makes like your standard captains or your standard autarchs that aren't Jane Czar or they aren't Dante get a little bit more out of those weapons because they haven't got all the extra rules that are associated with those characters.
That's right. And because often, like when you take an enhancement, it's just 1 weapon. This with trademark weapons, it allows you to have your other weapons also being buffed because it's 1 melee and 1 ranged.
Love it.
Okay, that is all the hero army rules. So far, this is super simple.
Yeah.
It just plugs right into 40k, which is what I love about it. We then go to the horde army rules. Okay. Already said, if you want to run it as an AI, just use Poorhammer's AI system and plug it right in, it will work perfectly. Work perfectly. Right, first point. The horde does not generate CP and may not use stratagems.
Makes sense.
Again, since they're not able to run a detachment, they wouldn't have access to stratagems anyway. There's no need for them to use CP. That's not what the horde is there to do. The horde army must be split into 5 battle round numbered waves.
Okay.
The first 3 battle round waves must be no more than 500 points. Okay, you've got 2,500 points to spend, yes, but the first 3 battle round waves or the first 3 turns can be no more than 500 points.
You can't drop it all at once, basically.
No, you cannot. Battle round waves 4 and 5 divide the remaining points evenly.
Makes sense.
Okay. There are additional things that come in with the mission, which you'll discover later. But you can see I'm already splitting the army up so that you're not suddenly facing 2,500 points in turn 2.
Yeah.
Okay, otherwise it would not work.
Even that tank commander isn't necessarily like,
Right. But by turn 4 or 5,
then it might start
you
getting
might
dicey.
be in a problematic situation. The first and second wave must include 2 battle line units each. And the third wave must include the last remaining battle line unit. Now you could take more battle line units, but remember I've made you take a minimum of 5 battle line units at maximum size. So turns 1 and 2, you know that both of those waves are going to have 2 max size battle line units, meaning that it feels like you're getting a horde right away. That's basically written into the rules for you. Turn 3, the last battle line wave comes in, and the 4th wave must include the Warlord unit. So I've set it up that the Warlord unit comes in a bit later, but it means that you, on that 4th wave, you can spend a lot of points on the Warlord if it's a big scary thing or whatever, and allow it to come in with lots of other, and that will give you 2 turns of trying to get to the enemy. The Warlords, this is the final rule that I've written, and it's the only AI bit I've gotten in. So the Horde Master has to do this. The Warlord must seek to engage the enemy Warlord unit as quickly as possible, moving towards, shooting, and charging them if able to do so. So when the Horde Warlord comes on, he has to, or she has to, seek out the hero Warlord.
Coming for him.
That's cool, because it's almost like...
There's no dodging rounds, trying to get an objective. No.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that a lot.
Then we have the core rules changes, and we're nearly done. When player infantry characters, note infantry characters, are reduced to 0 wounds, do not remove them from play. Instead, place the miniature on its side. Additionally, add the following core stratagem.
Very nice.
It's 2 CP, Heroic Recovery. It's an epic deed stratagem. It's done in the command phase. 1 infantry character unit from your army that has been reduced to 0 wounds. That unit immediately stands back up and regains 2d3 wounds. Now, in the Horde mode DLC, I had it that another character had to do this, had to be within 3 inches of you to do it. I've now let you just do it on a character that's
Like
down.
a second wind.
But it is 2 CP,
Yeah.
and obviously you can only do 1 stratagem a phase, so you can only do this once a turn. So, you know.
Tricky.
Yeah, but you will get back up on 2d3 wounds. Now, I didn't let things like that happen on, say, a tank commander, because if you're a guard player and you're doing hero mode, you could have an engine seer there,
Yeah. That's
repairing your tank commander.
Yeah. That's very cool.
Okay, you've got other ways of doing things. You know, not every army is going to be equal in this instance, but you could still build a pretty tasty character-driven list on any faction.
You can't just get Angron back up.
Right. In addition to generating 1 CP every command phase, the hero army immediately generates 1 CP for every Horde army unit when it is destroyed.
Cool.
Okay. Note that this is not limited by gaining command point rules of 1 CP a battle round in the Leviathan rulebook. Nice. So that basically means that, yes, you technically only generate 1 CP in the command phase normally, but you have a way, and then if you have characters which also maybe give you a CP, that would count. But if for every unit you destroy or is destroyed, it will give you more. So this is how you can fuel your stratagems to be epic throughout the game and keep heroic recovery as a way in.
It incentivizes a blaze of glory if you're injured as well, because if you've got 1 CP, but you're like, oh, I could maybe finish off that unit. It gives you that sort of like gamble.
Yeah, because even then if they punch you back, and they know you cut down quite a few of them, but then they drag you down. Yeah. You know, in your next turn,
you might be able to then get back up. That's cool. I like that.
So there's tactical play there as well, whilst keeping it cinematic and like Space Marine 2.
That's cool.
So those are the rules.
Love it.
It's not hard. Any questions?
I mean, I'm already thinking of all the things you could take as well, and I like the fact that because there is keeping it simple of just character units means you've got lots of choice. Right, and it's that thing of then like the difference between what can and can't be shot and get the lone operative stuff, I think is very, 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 very clever. So I like that a lot. Obviously, your tank commanders then aren't just going to get shot off the board. Right. And I think it'll be one of those things as well, as I assume like the hope is the more games we play of this and the more we test it, then we can make adjustments and things that we might find out, actually, this can be extended or this can go back, and we'll see how that goes. Yeah, and as of writing this, the Death Watch rules, which GW sort of announced at the bottom of a different article, haven't been released, but I'm hoping when they come out, there might be a bit more of an array of characters for Death Watch to be represented. Otherwise, I might look at something custom for like to represent a kill team and allow them to have the character keyword so that they could be taken. That's like the easy fix. You just go, take a kill team, they gain the character keyword. Yeah, nice. But you know, we'll have to see. Like obviously this is built to plug into 40k, but doesn't account for like weird random changes that GW may make. Yes. But right now it does work. If you're enjoying today's video, then I have excellent news for you. Today's video joins a huge library of other podcast shows just like this one as a weekly benefit to our OnDemand members. The podcast show is an opportunity for us to discuss different tales, topics, and tangents and hear from our amazing OnDemand community as a reward for all of their support. They get to submit questions that we answer on the show. Available right now and instantly is over 60 episodes of podcasts just like this one. So if you want to sign up now for instant access to all of these episodes, head over to tabletoptactics.tv or download our app today. We'd love to have you there, chatting in the comments and submitting show ideas. Anyway, let's get back to today's episode. Okay, so then we have a mission. The primary mission is evacuation zone. I like it. Yes, I did draw it actually. I drew a deployment, Crucible of Heroes. It makes sense. It's the Crucible of Heroes. Yeah. We have a mission rule called Escalating Threat. Very cool. And we have a secondary mission called No Mercy. Now, what you don't get compared to a normal game of Leviathan or Horde mode from the awesome Poorhammer podcast is you don't get cards that you're drawing every turn. Okay, you don't get that element,
but there is a progressive element in here already built in, which I'll go over with you in a minute. And I think that there's enough replayability in here, given the fact that you've got an army list building phase now,
that's cool.
So the Horde Master can have a lot of fun building a hordes. The players can have a lot of fun building their characters. And given the nature of this mission, which I'll go over now, you'll see that where the replayability comes in. So Crucible of Heroes, effectively you've got a 10-inch deployment zone circle in the center of the battlefield. There are 5 objectives set up, which are all numbered. You can just put a dice on them to represent that number if you don't have old objectives which have numbers on them, although a lot of the objective sets do still have numbers on them these days. Otherwise, yeah, just count the numbers. You've got 5 objectives, 1 in the center and then 4 equally around the middle. The Horde deployment zones are then split into quarters surrounding the entire battlefield. Terrifying stuff. Okay?
I like that you're surrounded as well in the
Yeah,
middle.
yeah. Well, that makes it feel like a last stand.
Yeah.
You're having to make a fight here. The way I pictured it is the heroes are doing their last stand. They're waiting for evac. They're either going to die fighting or they're going to get out off planet.
You're essentially thinking the 3rd edition box art. Essentially, that in that central,
or the
holding
original Rogue Trader.
Yeah, exactly, right.
They're just making the last stand. Perhaps you've got important data which you need to get off world. Perhaps you're Elictor and several hive mind bugs which have got important, bio samples which the hive mind needs to get back onto the mothership. You can paint the scenario however you like
the
for whatever
lion
sort of
alone in the forest.
Okay, so evacuation zone. Start of every battle round. Roll 1d6. On a 1 to 5, the corresponding objective marker on the last stand deployment is active for this battle round, or Crucible of Heroes deployment rather. On a 6, every objective is active for this battle round.
Multi-ball. Yeah.
An old school classic.
Nice.
Okay. First battle round onwards. Happens at the end of your turn. The player whose turn it is scores 5 victory points for holding at least 1 active objective marker.
Very nice.
Note that that's at least 1. So that means that if you do multi-ball it, you can still only score 5 victory points.
Makes sense, yeah.
So there's a maximum of 5 victory points a turn, up to 25 points that can be scored, because this is from the first battle round onwards.
Nice, cool.
Okay, you got that so far?
Yep.
You can score 25 points for holding an objective a turn.
Nice.
The advantage of rolling a 6 is, and bear in mind, this is active for both the Horde
Interesting.
and the heroes.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
The Horde also needs to hold these because you're trying to triangulate an evac zone and they're trying to stop you from triangulating.
Untriangulate.
Makes sense, right? So it just plays itself. End game. Evac zone secured, or perhaps maybe not.
Oh.
The army that has secured 3 or more active objectives throughout the game receives 20 points at the end of the battle.
Nice.
So, since there's only 5 turns you can score in, if one of those players, be it the Horde or the Heroes, does manage to score 3 of those turns, objectives, you will get a bonus 20 points, okay? For a total of 45. Just like in 10th edition, you can score up to 45. It's all in the rules, it's all there. We then have a secondary mission, No Mercy. Mercy is for the weak. First battle round onwards, scored at the end of the turn, purge the foe. The player whose turn it is scores 5 victory points for 1 or more enemy units if they were destroyed this turn.
Nice.
Note that a unit does count as destroyed. If it's put down on its side, you're a hero, and you get it back up, it still counts as destroyed that turn.
Makes sense.
They can still only score 5 points. So if you kill 3 Horde units that turn, you're still only getting 5, but the incentive is to kill a unit each a turn.
Yeah.
Okay?
Makes
So
sense.
that's up to 25 points. End of game, slay the warlord.
Oh,
Yay.
nice. Yes.
20 victory points if the enemy warlord is destroyed at the end of the battle.
Love it.
Okay? Classic. Absolute classic. So there you can get your 45 on the secondary. The mission rule is where the mission really comes alive.
Oh, okay.
Escalating threat. In the deployment phase, the Horde army must set up waves 1 to 5 in strategic reserves.
Okay.
Okay? Up to half the units from each of waves 2 to 5 may be deployed in deep strike if they have that ability. So basically it's written in there, you can only deep strike from turn 2 and only up to half the units from each wave may deep strike.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm basically following the 10th edition rules, but also making it balanced for the heroes to potentially win
deep
this
a whole
game.
wave in, it's at half.
Correct. So if you're a demon player, you can't go, right, I'm deep striking my entire 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th waves.
Yeah.
Because that would be too oppressive.
Yeah.
So I balanced it quite nicely there. I'm patting myself on the back.
Well done,
Right, start of every battle round. The Horde army deploys the battle round numbers wave.
Yep.
As discussed. So we know that waves 1 and 2 have 2 battle line units in, and 3 has 1 battle line unit in. You roll a d4 to determine which quarter that turn's wave deploys in.
Nice.
So the Horde does not know, like,
where they're coming in.
First of all, you've got to activate an objective, so you might activate objective 3, but your Horde comes in quarter 1. They're not probably going to be able to get it that turn.
Yeah.
But your heroes might have also been holding an objective on quarter 1, and they might struggle to get back.
Yeah.
So getting the objective each turn is not guaranteed for either, and that's where a lot of the replayability and the excitement comes in.
Yeah.
Because also, if an objective activates in a quarter where the Horde is quite heavy, you might, as the heroes, decide to not try and go for it. Because it's too dangerous.
Otherwise, you're going to go too close to something that could charge you.
Right, so there's a lot. There's a lot, it's just going to be risky. Okay. Units arriving via strategic reserves must be set up wholly within the deployment zone of that quarter and may be set up within 9 inches of an enemy unit. They may be set up within 9 inches. Bear in mind that the deployment zones for each quarter is 6 inches. So just like normal strategic reserves units, you coming in wholly within 6. But here's the key thing. These units then move normally in the movement phase.
Nice.
So the Horde appears if they come in from strategic reserve, and then they can move.
Give them
and
an
in theory,
opportunity to get to the heroes,
charge.
Yeah.
If they've got the ability to assault, to advance and charge, they could do that. Depending on where they come in, and where you are.
Yeah. Because you also don't want it to be that, like, you've gone off to one side of the battlefield and the Horde deploys at the other end. You're like, oh, nothing's going to happen this time. You kind of want that tension ratcheting up, right? Yeah.
Of course you do. Yeah. And the heroes are very much incentivized to stay around the center areas, jumping round, because otherwise you won't score enough points to win the game and secure your evac zone.
I love it.
Makes for a nice quick game as well.
Yeah.
It makes for a nice quick game. That's it.
Very nice.
That's it.
Very exciting.
Well done.
That's the rules.
I think what I like about the mission as well is straight away there, I was thinking of as obviously like, we even discussed when we did play it last time, of like, we had Lieutenant Titus that did have an invuln, but I was thinking, if you had like a Terminator captain, like that 2-up rerollable save, it's going to make them really sturdy. But I like the fact that if they've only got a 5-inch move, they're not then zipping across to the other objective, right? That you've got to think, do I go, I'm going to take Angron, I can't remember, he might be more than 400, but the Lion, say, that's 300 odd points.
Yes.
That's a huge amount of your 400 point list,
Yeah.
but is only one model.
That's right.
So can't be everywhere all at once.
Yeah.
And I quite like that suddenly, a jump captain, Dante, and someone else is like quite zippy and getting around and being able to take stuff. So you can kind of make builds.
Yeah, and his one model's OC will be fairly low as well. So
exactly.
If a Horde is on an active objective, you might struggle to take it back from them.
And sorry. Ooh,
but I mean, but here's the thing. Like because I've done it as end of turn. What the characters naturally are not going to generally have great OC.
Yeah.
And the Horde could potentially have quite a lot of OC on an objective. But because I've allowed you to score at end of turn rather than be on it at the beginning of next turn, it gives you an opportunity that turn to kill the Horde that's on the objective, to hold it.
Yeah.
So you've always got a chance of getting an objective, assuming you can move to it, of course.
Yeah, and it's also nice that because it's at the end, if you're slightly far away, you can make a daring charge to slingshot yourself at a unit of Termagant, and also incentivizes actually dealing with the chaff units.
Right.
Because if they're holding the objective, you can't just kill all the Khan effects. It's be like, I'm invincible now. It's like, I'm going to have to do this objective. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool.
There's some interesting factions that spring to mind.
Yeah.
That's quite nice in terms of who would make a good Horde. Obviously Tyranids.
Yeah.
Orcs would be fun, but then like you've got Gene Stealer cults that work.
Yeah.
Necrons.
Necrons would be fun. Hilariously, Votan.
Yeah, Votan.
They're coming! Where are they? Oh, there they are! They're behind the chest-high walls! I also really like that you kind of, the way the lone operative stuff works as well, is that rewards characters that are a lot of characters are often combat based.
Yes.
So they kind of need to be able to get there. Whereas if you're a shooty character, say a Tau commander, then you could be shooting stuff from miles away because you're going to be like, suddenly a plasma rifle melts 3 orc boys. It's like, that's cool. Like,
there's also like factions on like the good and evil side as well, which work quite nicely. Like if you wanted to run hero mode and use Chaos Space Marines, for instance, why not fight the guard? That's very fun. So there's loads of really interesting ways, and hopefully, like within people's groups of friends, there's that one person that has like a horde army that might enjoy being a games master.
Right.
And
there's so much like variety in terms of what you could use for the heroes.
Yeah, and also I think not only is the hero list building element, because I love list building.
It's half
fun. But actually, I think building the horde is really fun.
Yeah.
Your biggest price of entry, I think, with this particular game mode, which to be fair is the same as horde mode as well, is you do need a 2,500 point collection, and then I've got that extra stipulation of you need 5 battle line units.
Yes.
And you need them at maximum size. Now, if you're being clever, what you could say, let's say you only actually have enough to make 3 of those battle line or 2. Actually, if the heroes destroy them,
bring them back.
You could just recycle them. You don't actually have to have 100 orc boys, you know. So you can sort of be clever with it, and
you can probably sort of get as close as you can to the rules. Like if you don't have quite what you need in your collection, like we're not saying don't play heroes.
Exactly. And like as I see the game master as being very much a bit like a dungeon master for a role-playing game. Like if let's say that 17 orc boys have been killed, there's 3 remaining. It's totally okay for the guy to go, right, I'm going to remove those 3 models because I only actually have 20 orc boys, and I'm going to bring on another 20 boys. Yeah. It's fine.
And I think we in sort of thinking about this and sort of like bouncing ideas around the office, that was one of the things we really wanted to make it as like, you can kind of club together as mates and be like, you make a horde kind of thing, and then like you say, you can be like, oh well, that unit has gone, so you can use the next round comes in. I think the waves make it manageable as well. It will start to get pretty spicy at the end if you haven't dealt with stuff.
Right.
But I like the fact it gives the heroes an opportunity to deal with everything.
Right.
To get that leg up, that they will eventually start losing wounds and getting more subdued to make them more killable.
Oh, I don't think I mentioned, by the way, in escalating threat, the horde army always goes first. By the way,
makes sense,
because there's no horde until the beginning of their turn where they generate.
Yeah, always turn one.
And then more importantly as well for the heroes, it always gives them that final turn.
Yeah.
To try and get the last objective, or try and slay the warlords, or stands their hero back up. That sort of jazz. So, but again, it's going to be a tough task because if you've got a nasty horde master. And it brings a nasty list, it could be a problem for the heroes.
I also really like the 400 points because I think it helps if a certain character is particularly spicy, then that should, in theory, be balanced in the points cost of that hero anyway. Right. So the equivocable? I'm not sure if that's even a word. Equivalent characters are then, what was I trying to say? Equivalent kind of characters across factions should be at a similar kind of, their points cost should amount to their powers when they gain all the bonus rules. Custodians are going to be super tough. But that's because they're more expensive anyway, right? And a Terminator captain in Custodians is like, woo! That's like you're tanking that unit. We might have like a bike captain going around dealing with stuff, which is really cool. I think it just seems like a ton of fun. Really
I can't wait to see what you guys think of it. And
I'm super excited.
Obviously, when we go over things like rules, it can be a bit sterile because you just go, well, there's a lot of rules. How's it actually going to work? And that's what this game on Saturday will be for.
Exactly right.
And then obviously more feedback can come in then. But I think, look, I'm really pleased with it. I think I know I would enjoy playing this type of game.
Absolutely.
And whenever I write rules or do anything, like I always go, would I enjoy doing it? And that's a good base point to start at.
I guess then to round us out as a little sort of last bit, from the top of your head, or because they're your favourite, what faction are you looking forward to trialing in the Crucible of Heroes?
As the heroes?
Yeah!
Weirdly, Tyranids.
Oh,
as
really?
The heroes,
I kind of like the idea of having some really gnarly Tyranid characters who just tear through everything.
Like a swarm lord.
Be on the other side,
that's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just the artwork for Darkness in the Blood, the Blood Angels book with Dante and Mephiston back to back.
Oh, nice.
Surrounded by stuff. I'm like, I'll give that a go. That'd be so cool.
Spicy.
Like, is there any particular ones you have, like, thinking of this? Like,
there are so many actually, because like even like an Imperial Knight and his squire against a horde could be such an epic last
cool.
stand. I think
Exactly.
actually, depending on what the horde is, it could actually be quite difficult for them to win that.
Yeah.
But it would be something I'd be keen to try.
Yeah.
I think the cheapest big knight though is maybe 300 plus points. So you probably
pretty much
won't get
getting
the
a
small
knight,
squire as well.
Yeah.
I'm hoping one day, like in the future Imperial Knight Codex, they actually have the retainers. The house,
we
you know, like a solar auxilia equivalent. You know, the people that maintain the house guards, if you like. I think that would be a really cool way to flesh the Imperial Knights army out.
Yeah.
Literally.
Quite literally, yeah. I'm really excited to see how Guard do as well with that. Like, I think we're kind of like that kind of, Fury-esque last stand. Like a tank commander in one unit. It's like, ooh.
Well, that's what's coming this Saturday.
Oh, it's coming this Saturday, you lucky ducks. It's all super exciting. I'm really excited. We hope you are all excited. And I think, let's go play hero mode.
Yay.
Yes.
You play at home. Let me
you
know
play
what
at
you think. This is very accessible, I think.
And I think
it's free.
Yeah, and I think the hope is
just play the game. It's free, written, it's done.
It's done, and I think the more we're going to do loads of battle reports of this over on OnDemand as well. So sign up for those extra ones, and I think obviously we'll do the freeview one. And I think the more we play and the more we sort of together comments and stuff, we'll see how things go, and we can kind of as a community just and
if you've got ideas for it, like maybe you come up with a different mission.
Yeah, exactly.
Using these rules, you might have another cool mission.
DLC, so we'll do a Christmas one. Ooh.
Post it on your social medias when you're playing, because we want to see what you're using for your heroes.
Yeah, tag us in it. That'd be really cool. But yeah, thank you for sharing that with us, and we hope you enjoyed that being shared with you at home. We're super jazzed about this and super excited. So can't wait to play it. But until that, next time, I have been James Jordan, aka the Bard. I have been joined by Lawrence Baker,
the Horde Master,
and the hero of the hour,
Cheerio,
Joe Pointing. We have been Tabletop Tactics, and we'll see you guys on Saturday for the hero mode game. So until then, bye bye.